What is going on, everybody? This is the Reformation Keegan, and here today I'm doing another comic analysis. We're doing an analysis on Batman the Knight, written by Chip Zdarsky. So, initially, I was a bit skeptical on this story, and I didn't read it for a long time because it's newer, and I preferably like a lot of older Batman stories. But I've been reading a lot of the newer content, and I must say that a lot of the new content has been very good. So I'm really happy that I decided to pick this story up. I kind of procrastinated on reading it for a bit, but I'm very happy that I did because this story is newer, but it's written in an old school manner in the sense that we get to go back in time to look at Bruce Wayne's origin. And what I find really interesting is a lot of this origin is derived from Batman Begins, which is the 2005 film, yet this was published in 2022. So nearly 2 decades later, which is again interesting because you would think that this story itself, Batman the Knight, I love the cover by the way, but this story itself would be a catalyst to create that film. But instead, the film, in my opinion, was a catalyst of making this story. So I think what Chip Zdarsky did was he took elements of Bruce Wayne's training, which we hadn't seen really before, and he took what he saw from Batman Begins with the story between the relationship deriving from the training itself with Ra's al Ghul or Ra's al Ghul, depending on how you pronounce it, and Bruce Wayne, and basically made a longer elongated story out of that because it's not until issues 8 to 10 that we start fully seeing the relationship between a young Bruce Wayne and the master himself, Ra's al Ghul or Ra's al Ghul. I'm just going to say Ra's, but I believe that is the Hebrew saying and not the Arabic saying. Please correct me if I'm wrong. And I believe the Arabic way is Ra's al Ghul. But in Batman the Animated Series, if I remember correctly, it is pronounced Ra's al Ghul. I could be wrong, but that's how I remember it. Nevertheless, I want to get into this because this is really a new take on Bruce Wayne's origin story and not Batman's origin story. We're finding out the cause and effect from Bruce Wayne getting to Batman, which is why this story is called The Knight and not The Dark Knight, because Batman is not the Dark Knight yet. Instead, he is the Knight that still has a little bit of darkness within him. So I'm going to be picking up on a lot of different themes in this. It's going to be difficult for me to cover all 10 issues because I'll be here for 2 or 3 hours and I'll be like comic historian and I'll just be basically rereading and analyzing all of those issues, which will take me 3 to 4 hours. But if that's something that you would like to see in the future and if there's a demand to see that, please let me know and I will do it for you. So keep that in mind. However, one of the things I find interesting is that Bruce initially wants to be a cop. And Bruce wants to be a cop because that's his way of thinking he's going to get justice. But if we look at society and look at the justice system, being a cop doesn't mean you're always going to get justice for personal enjoyment or to help fill a void inside you. And Dana brings this to light and has Bruce reflect on his wishes to be a cop. So we get that right from the get-go, that we have Batman, aka Bruce Wayne, who wants justice. He wants vengeance. He wants redemption. He wants all of these things. And being a cop is not the way to get that, because being a cop means that you have to put up with the corruption and even partake in a lot of that corruption to get to that. And although Bruce Wayne is basically a child derived from nepotism through finances, he doesn't want to use those finances right now for that personal gain. What he wants to do is he wants to physically go through trials. So one of the things that I picked up on is Bruce Wayne basically puts himself through nightly trials. And not to win a female, even though there is a bit of teasing with Talia al Ghul, he does this to fill that void that he feels and to help embrace but also alleviate that darkness that a lot of people have been calling out within the story. So I want to get into a couple other things because I think there's a lot to unpack here. So, like I said, in this series, we see seeds planted for Bruce and Talia. You know, Talia does kiss Bruce at one point, and also she starts to feel a bit compassionate when Bruce is going through these nightly trials. and he's almost going to win the female. And if you know anything about the canon, stuff happens between Bruce Wayne and Talia. I'm not going to spoil it all if you haven't read it, but a lot does happen. So another thing that I found, again, extremely poignant was, I believe it was issue 7, where you have Bruce Wayne speaking with John Zatara, aka the father of Zatanna. So I really like this because it shows the complexities of magic and how I think the human mind has thought of magic as almost this divine entity that is just one-dimensional. And magic is more than being one-dimensional. So we see too that this is also a story about John's grief, and John's grief goes through speaking with Bruce Wayne. They're almost like therapists for each other. And Zatanna is almost the voice of reason and the wisdom that is in between this voice of reason. So John Zatara, he won't teach Bruce Wayne magic because of his darkness. He sees this darkness in Bruce. And if somebody acts through that darkness, a lot of bad things can happen. Even though Bruce says that he will not ever commit a murder, there is still other ways to really harm the world through that perpetual darkness. But the demon Shantos is attracted to the brokenhearted. And we see this in this issue with John Zatara, where the demon Shantos, he feeds on the brokenhearted, and Bruce Wayne is a perfect example of that because of the murder of his parents. But what happens is Zatanna helps draw this demon out, and Shantos, he views Bruce's melancholy as almost unprecedented, but John Zatara helps vanquish the demon, and what this does is it shows that Bruce can't really acquire this magic right now, but he also has a magic of his own that's not the stereotypical magic that the general public thinks is magic. And John Zatara explains this through the magic of the mind. So Zatara basically explains the magic of the mind, where Bruce can reflect, Bruce can think, Bruce can analyze, Bruce can use elements of nostalgia for personal gain. So he can look at all the memories he has with his mother, all the memories he has with his father, even the memories with Alfred. He has all of these memories, and he can act upon those memories, and being able to think and recollect on all of that is a magic itself. So Bruce takes this and runs with it when he eventually goes against Ra's al Ghul and also against Anton, who I will discuss later. So I really, really think this is a very poignant story, especially this issue, the 7th one. And there's still a lot to unpack. Like, one of the things too is Bruce goes everywhere, right? He goes to North Korea, he goes to New York, he goes to visit Avery Oblonsky, who's a very underrated piece of this story. But she teaches him the Master of Disguise, which eventually we'll see when Bruce Wayne and Batman are two of the same people, but physically they're very different when he has to use Batman to be the disguise and use Bruce Wayne to be the disguise. So there's a lot going on there. So Avery Oblonsky is a very, very important aspect of this story. I also want to discuss Dr. Capdio. So Dr. Capdio is a nomadic academic that Bruce has to travel to go see. And Bruce visits him before basically facing off against Anton. And Bruce is riddled with anxiety and fear, and has been since the beginning of his life. And there's a really revealing quote here from Capdio that I want to discuss. He says, "I can make you the coldest man in the world, a perfect weapon. But the question is, can you do it without losing yourself, Mr. Wayne?" We learn that Capdio frames photos of Alfred and Dana butchered. And with this, we see how Bruce unravels. We see how this grief unravels, and this is a test. This is a test for Bruce to see how his perpetual anger, his fear, and his melancholy are all going to combine together to make this perfect weapon. So we can see how these three elements, when they're mixed, are going to create what we know as the Dark Knight today. And he acts very, very aggressively. And the characterization of Anton brings this out because if we remember correctly, Anton is somebody who cannot be trusted. He's somebody who, as we know as the Ghostmaker now, he goes through his own dilemmas, but he views murder as an option, whereas Bruce Wayne, throughout his anger, will not succumb to murder. We can see in one of the issues where he does what he has to do to get by. And Anton kills Illuka Jungo because Jungo sees his true mentality and that he will go to murder first. So he sees the vices within Anton, and Anton will shoot. And then he also attacks Bruce Wayne, lays him out, but leaves him enough, because when he leaves well enough alone with Bruce Wayne, the chase continues, and he wants Bruce to chase him. So it's almost this cat and mouse game. It's almost like the Joker, where he knows that Batman won't kill him, because there's a little bit of Bruce Wayne inside Batman that loves the conflict and loves the chase. So hence why Anton won't do it now, which is very, very intriguing, because Anton is that one character where you can almost compare him to Bruce Wayne in a lot of ways, but he'll just go that extra step that he doesn't necessarily have to go to, even though he thinks he needs to go to it, whereas Bruce Wayne would rather deal with things more diplomatically, even throughout his own anger. So that actually shows, even though Bruce Wayne thinks he really can't control his own anger, that he is fully, in fact, in control of his actions. So that's a little bit of a sense of irony there, too, that I think even Chip Zdarsky uses. But back on track with Dr. Capdio, too, we can see that there's this mercenary. His name is Harazuma, and he is sent to test and recruit Batman. And he was trained by Ra's al Ghul. And in the end, Batman's love to those closest to him is what makes him feel like he needs to obtain vengeance. And this is where I think vengeance and redemption get misconstrued, because I don't think Batman wants vengeance, because when I think of the term vengeance, I think of like retribution. I think of, you're gonna attack somebody in a justified way, but you're gonna do it in a very barbaric manner, to the point that you beat them within an inch of their life, or you actually do kill them. Whereas redemption is something more of, you're gonna gain that satisfaction, but you did it in a way that makes you proud of yourself and also contributes to who you are. So I think maybe in the canon, the term vengeance, in my opinion, is a little bit misleading, because even though a lot of vigilantes, they do use murder, and they do use very heinous actions to gain what they want, which is that personal vengeance, I think Batman is more about interpersonal redemption, because we can see throughout his conversations with Alfred, even in the beginning of this story, where he feels like he needs to take it upon himself to go travel and learn all of these different martial arts and all of these different mental techniques and emotional techniques, to not just become the Dark Knight, but to survive in the world that is filled with melancholy and grief and loss. He's looking for interpersonal redemption. And that's what I think Chip Zdarsky's conveying here. And we can see this because, like I said earlier, he puts himself through these nightly trials. But what this also is a pilgrimage. And I think when a lot of people look at the term pilgrimage, they look at it as a very holy experience, right? Like you're walking to the promised land, you're walking to a church, you're walking to anywhere that has any religious or spiritual affiliation. But a pilgrimage through a secular lens can also be more of a spiritual awakening within the self, and not with any religious affiliation. So for Bruce Wayne to travel to all these places, this is a form of pilgrimage, where he's trying to find something within himself that he cannot fully convey. So that is my light analysis on this story. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe if you'd like a second part, and for me to go deeper into even some of the issues, because these are almost like a series of interrelated one-shots. If you want me to go deeper with some of these, let me know. But I think that there's still a bit that we can unpack. So let me know what you think, and don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe.